Here's something you never thought you'd hear me say. Yes, it is possible to get your ex back without no contact. So in this video, I will outline some of the ways that you can get a second chance with your ex without using no contact. I'll also talk about why I still recommend no contact to my clients and viewers like you, despite these other options. So let's get into it. But first, I of course am Brad Browning, aka Breakup Brad. I've been here on YouTube giving out breakup advice for over 10 years now. If you've been on my channel before, you know that no contact is one of the tactics that I recommend for those who are looking to get their ex back. Now, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'd suggest you stick around and watch some more videos after this one. And if you like my advice, subscribe to my channel. It's important that you have a foundation before you approach your ex. And no contact is actually a foundational technique for those looking for a second chance. So then, why am I making this video? Well, I think it's important to focus on the truth here. There are ways to get your ex back without no contact. Are they effective? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. Now, there's another reason here too. If you're looking for a second chance with your ex, you're probably scared as hell to go no contact on your ex. You know, what if they forget about you? What if it makes them angry? And above all else, what if it's too hard for you to be without them for an extended period of time? Now, these concerns, they make sense. So when you hear stories of people who got their ex back without having to do no contact, you're going to be relieved to know that it's possible to take a shortcut and avoid all that difficult time alone. But I'm here to tell you that while it is possible, getting your ex back without no contact is going to be either more difficult or less likely than it would be if you were using the tried and true method. To explain why, let's cover other methods that you can use to get your ex back. So if you want your ex back, I think that your first instinct is to call them, arrange a meeting, and sit down and have a serious conversation with your ex. You know, you want to clear your air, share your feelings, and declare your desire to be back together. Now, this all sounds great on paper. You know, it's potentially romantic, it's honest and direct. So really, you know, what's the problem? Well, here's what you're not getting. You know, your ex broke up with you. They know you love them. They know you want to be with them, and they decided to end the relationship for whatever reason. They decided that love just wasn't enough. Now, how will a conversation like this one really change anything? As I said, this is a method that can work, but only if your ex already wants you back and was just waiting for you to ask. In this case, the substance of the conversation doesn't really matter at all. In fact, they're barely listening to what you're saying to them because they're overjoyed that you two are going to be able to get back together. But unfortunately, it'll be difficult to impossible to tell if your ex is actually going to respond this way before you have this kind of conversation. Even if they are open to the idea, you can still scare them off this way. You know, you may say something that ruins your chances. You may put too much pressure on them and cause them to rethink things. You really just don't know. If you want to know what chances you have with your ex, then you should first take my free quiz over at breakupbrad.com/quiz. It only takes about 5 minutes, and it gives you a score that represents your likelihood of getting your ex back. So if you're going to attempt this method that I just talked about, I hope you've already taken my quiz over at breakupbrad.com/quiz and scored a perfect 100 on it. And even still, I really do think this is a big mistake. A serious conversation like this changes things. It reminds your ex of all the issues that you two had in your past relationship. So how about something more subtle? You know, how about you just keep in contact with your ex after breaking up? Keep checking in, have a few conversations here and there, maybe meet up now and then, or even sleep together. You know, isn't this preferable to complete silence? Well, it might feel better to talk to your ex all the time, but the reasons it feels good are the same reasons that it doesn't work. So for one, it's actually going to give your ex a chance to get over you. Yes, your ex is going to be in emotional turmoil after dumping you. They'll feel worthless and sad and alone. And by staying in contact, you're helping to comfort them and make them feel better. And the more you do this, the faster they're going to get over you and move on to someone else. And secondly, if you stick around like this, you're going to show them that you're there as a plan B. So now that they know that they have a backup plan, they know they don't have to commit to you until all of their other options don't work out, so they'll really feel no pressure to treat you right. So you're actively allowing them to meet and date new people because they know that they'll have you in the bag if those things don't work out. Now, I've made a whole video about why this doesn't work in the past, and I'll link to that in the description below and in the pop-up here in the corner if you want to watch that next. So what is the situation where staying in contact with your ex will help you win them back? Well, again, this is one where your ex has already decided that they want you back and are actively working towards reconciliation. But since you can't read your ex's mind, you won't know if they actually want you or they're just using you for validation. So don't risk being manipulated by your ex, and don't let them use you as a backup plan. Now, the very slim chance that this works for you is offset by the high likelihood that it actively helps them move on from you and find someone new. Now, if you've been in the comments section on any of my videos, I'm sure you've run into someone offering you a magic spell that's guaranteed to win your ex back in days or even hours. They may even be doctors like Dr. Igbo or Dr. Zuzi, though I really do doubt that they went to medical school. So for those who really want their exes back, this might seem like an enticing offer. After all, why not risk sending $40 to someone on another continent if you could win back the love of your life? But the truth is, unfortunately, that magic isn't real. I know I wish it was sometimes too. It would be great to be able to fly around or put a curse on my enemies. But it should be pretty obvious by this point that these are really only fantasies with absolutely no basis in reality. And that's, of course, why hiring a spellcaster is a risk. You're choosing to live in a fantasy land where magic and spells are going to save you, rather than in the real world where you have to stand up and take action to get your ex back. It'll make you passive, and being passive is not going to help you solve your problem. It's also obviously a very real risk sending money to these people. A lot of the times you're using illicit means to send them money across borders, and more often, you're going to be giving them personal information even if you don't know it. And this information can be used to steal your identity or sold to people who are going to try to scam you further. So don't risk it. Now, as I said, these are all methods that can work to get your ex back, but how can magic spells work if magic isn't real? Well, the human mind is a powerful thing. So if you're someone that genuinely believes in this stuff, then the placebo effect can have a tangible effect on your results. Basically, if you believe that a spell is changing your ex's feelings towards you, then you're going to be more confident, and that can actually make you take actual steps towards winning your ex back. But if that's your situation, I'd recommend just doing some kind of ritual on your own time that doesn't require you to risk your money and identity to somebody who only has bad intentions. Or better yet, wake up and join us here in the real world. So I have at times advocated playing a few mind games with your ex after a breakup. Now, these are mostly just simple ways to make your ex jealous so that you can level the playing field. Some people even consider no contact to be a bit of a mind game. You're essentially pretending to move on from your ex, even though you have no intention to. And that's definitely something I consider when recommending this approach to my clients. With that in mind, I think that cutting ties and focusing on yourself is never going to actually harm your ex. But using actual manipulation against your ex has the potential to do real damage. And if that isn't enough, it's also going to set you up for failure down the line, even if you do manage to win back your ex with these kinds of tactics. If you can even make that work in the first place. But does it actually work? Well, yes, on certain people and in certain scenarios, you may be able to lie, trick, and gaslight your ex into taking you back. You can, as many people online will recommend, call them on the phone and yell at them. Tell them they'll never do better, that they're worthless and only you could really love them. And sometimes, if you do this often enough, you'll get them to agree that they are a worthless person who deserves to be with somebody like you. But I just think that this kind of behavior is inexcusable, especially when it comes to someone that you claim to love. You're not getting a second chance with your ex this way, you're trapping somebody with abuse. And don't kid yourself, just because you never physically hurt them doesn't make this any less abusive on your part. Now, if you're still hell-bent on breaking your ex down emotionally, consider the fact that this almost never works. Think of all the stories you hear. Someone's psycho ex calling them 10 times a day and saying horrible things to try to make them change their mind about the breakup. How often do those stories end with, and now we're happily married? Most of the time, as soon as you start treating your ex this way, they're going to block you and tell everyone who will listen exactly what you're doing. So instead of taking this route, please get help. Many people have tried to stay friends with their exes following a breakup, but most of them had a hidden agenda. They secretly held a candle for their ex and hoped that by staying around, they'd be able to convince them to get back together when the time was right. But does it work? Well, I racked my brain to think of one scenario where I think being friends with your ex can give you a second chance with them. Say it's been quite a while since your breakup, your ex has moved on to a new relationship. They were together for a while, but it's recently soured. They have a long, protracted breakup, or maybe your ex was cheated on and then dumped suddenly without remorse. And now you're there to pick up the pieces. At their lowest moment, you reveal your feelings to them and they decide to give you a second chance. Now, this might sound like something out of a rom-com, and it certainly is, but I'm sure that it has happened more than once in the real world. Simply by being a living, breathing body around your ex when they're at their most vulnerable, you may be able to convince them to give you another go. But I'd say that most often, this relationship is going to be over soon after it's begun. And that's because your ex is really only agreeing because they're at rock bottom emotionally. And once a few days or weeks have passed and they've recovered a bit, they're going to realize that they don't really feel the same way you do, and it's all going to fall apart. Because being friends with your ex after they've broken your heart, especially if you want them back, is a very low value move. You're showing them that you lack self-respect, and that's very unattractive. You're showing them that you're willing to watch them date somebody new while waiting in the wings like a pathetic stalker. I know it's harsh, but it's completely true. And as I've said, the scenario where you do get them back is so rare and so prone to failure that this is not the safe bet that you were hoping for. In fact, you're risking your own future, your mental health, and your pride. It's really not a good trade-off for a 1 in a million shot with your ex. So by now, I'm sure you've noticed a pattern with most of these methods, and that is a real lack of technique, strategy, or forethought. Most of these methods, if they can really be called methods, are all about wishful thinking. They're built on the idea that you can have the best of both worlds. You can get your ex back without risking anything, without having to feel any discomfort or self-doubt. Some are built on the logic of romantic comedies where two exes hang out, crack wise, and eventually realize that they're perfect for one another. Basically, they're for people living in a fantasy world and have almost no basis in reality. While some of these methods are harmless and won't actually interfere with your goal of getting your ex back, they will waste time and energy that could be better spent on improving your life and your mindset. So, what should you do instead? I don't think anybody's going to be surprised when I recommend that you do employ the no contact method. Obviously, like anything else, it doesn't have a 100% success rate, but it does give you the best possible chance of getting your ex back, period. I don't have time to go into the details here, but in a nutshell, basically you just want to spend roughly 30 days following the breakup without communication with your ex in any way. So no phone calls, texts, don't even like their posts on Instagram. Instead, spend that time processing the breakup and improving yourself and your own mindset. And after that time has passed, reach out to your ex and start re-attracting them. Now there's much more to it than that, so I recommend you watch my video on the topic that I'll include again in the description below and in the pop-up here in the corner. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be scary, it's going to be painful, and you're going to have to take some risks and spend a lot of time processing your breakup and improving your life generally. But trust me when I say that it's the best method on this list by a long shot. So if you want to know exactly how to make this happen, then the next thing you should do is head to breakupbrad.com right now and check out my free video tutorial there to get started. It's more simple than you'd imagine, and I have answers to many of the questions that you might have right now. So go there and check that out, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.